Ready to start the meeting. We're at 7 o'clock. We've got a quorum. Please note that this meeting is being made available to the public through an audio recording, which will be used to ensure an accurate record of proceedings produced in the minutes of the meeting. All comments made in open session will be recorded. PAC TV is providing this service live on Comcast Xfinity Government Access Channel 9. Those without cable, visit YouTube for live streaming. There's also, just want to announce, there's going to be an infrastructure forum held by the Pembroke Chamber of Commerce this Thursday evening, September 12th, from 6 to 8 p.m. So if you want to find out what the issues are about land use, roads, water, it's a place to get your questions answered. So join us on Thursday, September 12th, from 6 to 8 p.m., and that will be in the community center. All right, our first order of business is public hearing number SP 3-24, Weston and Sampson, Aaron Guazaloca, Swanberg Property Wellfield, 0 Pleasant Street. The applicant proposes augmenting the town's existing drinking water wells at the Swanberg Property Wellfield. In addition to the 3 new wells, a chemical feed pump station will be constructed along with a new gravel access driveway and associated site improvements. So who do we have representing? Let me just also lay out some ground rules for public hearings. So we're going to hear from the applicant first, then we'll hear from the planning board's peer reviewer, and then the board will ask some questions of both of those parties, and after that, we'll take some public comment as warranted. Please listen to the presentations closely because a lot of your questions may be answered as part of the presentations. All right?
Good evening. I'm Aaron Guazaloca from Weston and Sampson, here on behalf of the town, DPW, for the Swanberg Wellfield project. So, start off, take a look at the site plan. So it's a relatively small building, 890 square feet-ish, plus or minus, with gravel access drive. I don't know the length of it off the top of my head. The primary objective when we designed the site was to create as little disturbance as possible. So we really took into account using the existing terrain of the site, maintaining the existing drainage patterns on site. We didn't want to really create any sort of environmental, any negative environmental impacts. The tree clearing was also another thing that we were very cognizant of. This site is heavily wooded for the most part. It's the only development on it is there's an existing gravel access drive that's used by the town to access and service municipal infrastructure. There's a drainage easement and water easement for water distribution purposes on site. So there's some pipelines running through there. Now, we received peer review comments, I believe the week before last, and recently, a few days ago, we resubmitted revised documents to address those comments. The 2 biggest changes that came out of the peer reviewers' comments were, it's kind of difficult, but there's a fairly significant retaining wall that's part of this design. Almost the entirety of the site is just one large hillside. The only low-lying areas are along the access road in proximity to the wetlands. So, to place this building and develop this site, it results in a significant cut. And this retaining wall is about 14 feet high, if I recall correctly, plus or minus. Previously, we had a wing wall on it. And one of the comments we received was that a portion of this wall was situated within the 20-foot side yard setback, and the zoning regulations were somewhat ambiguous as to whether this wall would be considered a structure. So we removed the wing wall and we just extended the wall outside of the 20-foot setback to, remove any sort of question as to whether this was a structure and it was non-compliant. The other major change to the design in the set of revisions is the infiltration basin. There's 2 infiltration basins on the site. There's one in front of the building, and there's one to the rear of the site. The basin in front of the building, there were 2 comments regarding it. One that was it was within 10 feet of the property line, and the second was that we needed to verify whether it was within the setback of any abutting septic systems. So we requested plans from the Board of Health, which the water department was able to provide us. And due to a septic system at 167 Pleasant Street being relatively close to the property line, we reconfigured that basin to kind of elongate it, pull it away from the property line, and be compliant with DEP regulations that we need to maintain a 50-foot setback to a soil absorption system. You know, this also gave an additional benefit of maintaining a larger vegetative buffer to the abutter at 167. We're going to be able to save several more trees in that area, I believe 2 or 3 trees. And as well with the retaining wall, the reconfiguration of the retaining wall, we'll be able to save additional trees on top of the wall now. So I think there's a net reduction of 4 trees that are going to be saved over the first iteration of plans we provided. And in addition to reconfiguring the wall, we're also proposing a row of arborvitae plantings on the top of the wall where the vegetation is thinnest, to provide an additional measure of screening for the abutter. Are there any questions?
Yeah, in the area of the retention basins, did you guys do soil sample tests at all?
Yeah, we have, we conducted,
Did you do?
I'm sorry, three or four test pits. I don't believe we have any in the footprint of the basins. They're adjacent, they're nearby. One of the comments from the peer reviewer was that they suggested that as a condition of approval, we would be required to dig additional stormwater test pits within the footprints of the basins and the infiltration trench prior to construction. And we would request that. We agree wholeheartedly, and it's a common, condition that we were able to receive.
Look back to this 14-fold retaining wall. Where is that?
Oh, you have that laser in there.
Oh, all right.
You see that red line?
Oh, look at that. All right. So the wall runs, yes, right here, along the eastern property, well, the eastern side of the property behind the building, proposed building.
Right, so it's a 14-foot drop.
At its highest, it tapers down. I don't have a profile of it,
Okay.
but
So there would be some kind
you
of.
may be able to see it on here. There's some spot, well, there's spot elevations on sheet C104,
Okay. And
which
there's
I
some
realize
kind of-
may be a little difficult to read on a plan that size.
Yeah. So there's some kind of fencing, so like if kids are running around back there, they're not going to fall. And
Oh, absolutely. There's a fence proposed. Well, the entire site will be secure access. So there's going to be fencing around the entire site, and there's a fence. We're proposing a fence running along the top of the wall, the entire extent.
So am I to understand that you're digging these 2 retention basins? Is that what's creating the surface fill? To the,
Oh, no,
or is it that at the normal grade, the natural grade?
well, the stormwater basin in front of the building, there's a natural depression there.
Okay.
So to construct that in the first place, it would have to be cleared and grubbed. And in that process of removing the root mat, we'd be removing 6 to 8 inches of material anyways. We're only proposing a 1-foot cut at that location. I believe existing grade is approximately 31, and we're proposing a cut to 30. I mean, it does vary. It does get as deep as, maybe 1.5 to 2 feet of a cut. But the vast majority of the fill here is being created around the area of the building, because the building is situated right in the midst of the hillside, kind of at the toe of the slope, but it's a very steep hill, so it ends up generating a good portion of fill. But I haven't rerun the numbers, but the way it was previously designed in the first set of plans with the wing wall, it was more or less a balanced site. There's some significant cutting in some areas, but we're also filling in other areas beneath the gravel access driveway.
You bringing fill in for that?
Well, I haven't run final numbers, so I don't know what the
Okay.
numbers look like right now, but previously, on a preliminary analysis of the site, was balanced. So any material removed or excavated from the ground on site would be reused elsewhere on site. I have a feeling now it may be more of a fill site, as in, we may be required to bring some fill in, since we pulled the retaining wall, one end of the wing wall away from the property line. So that material that was going to be generated by cutting into the hillside in that area, we won't have access to now, so it would most likely be imported.
I'm asking all these questions because you did mention the fact that, making any cuts near these septic systems of the houses on both sides may have soil impacts.
It's not really a concern with this earthwork isn't really, it's not a concern in negatively impacting, nearby septic systems. In the comment itself wasn't regarding the fact that we were proposing cuts near a septic system. It's more so when you're putting when you're infiltrating or sanitary waste into the ground. It has to be, you can't have an infiltration, a stormwater infiltration practice within a certain distance of that, because you don't want to get fecal coliform. It's a health concern. You don't want to, transfer those microbes and, the sanitary waste into the groundwater table, into the aquifer.
So we do have Merrill here. So Deb, do you have any comment on that, based on the stormwater review?
No,
Can we get a microphone?
Deb Keller with Merrill Engineers. I did have a chance to review the plans that they submitted, and I apologize, but there is a final letter, email to Sue, so, for the record. The applicant's engineer did address my comments, and with respect to this one, the requirement from DEP is that the infiltration basins be designed with a setback of 50 feet from any septic leaching field. And as described, it's to make sure that you don't have any combination of those flows before they get into groundwater or potential breakout. So it's just a conservative approach setback requirement.
And they've met that with this.
Yes, they have now. With this revised configuration, yes.
Do you want to continue?
Yeah, typically with breakout, you're only really concerned with that, within a distance of maybe 15 or 20 feet from the septic system. So, yeah, that wasn't the concern here. I would just like to state for the record, I just had a comment about Merrill's revised, their second comment letter. I'm not sure if it was an oversight, but I just wanted to clarify or to ask Deb with Merrill as to whether her comments regarding standards 9 and standards 10 in the stormwater report were addressed.
Yeah, we haven't seen that, correct?
Probably not.
Right.
Probably in Sue's inbox.
Okay, but you can certainly address it with her here.
Okay, I just wanted to state that we did address that, and I just believe that they,
That was unintentional on my part. I apologize.
Okay. Excellent. Anything else you want to add?
no, I think I'm done.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, I do have one. If you could just briefly, because they're pretty self-evident, just go over the waivers requested quickly. I have them here.
Okay.
You can go over them quickly.
Sure about my glasses?
Because that's an action item for the board, so we just want to make sure we address it.
Okay. Okay, so the first requested waiver was from the development impact statement required under section 415. So we requested a waiver from this because the project did not meet the required characteristics within the zoning bylaws, and we feel it's unnecessary. Okay, the second requested waiver was for a photometric plan under section 421. We requested this waiver because we're not proposing any site lighting for this project other than several small wall-mounted, more or less security lights located over the doorways. They're going to be shielded and, dark sky registered. So we're going to do all that we can to, prevent any light trespass, pollution on the property. We don't believe the limited scope of the lighting on this project will not create any of those conditions, adverse conditions for the abutters. Okay. Section 4.
sense.
All right, the next waiver is traffic impact assessment for section 420, I believe I referenced the wrong. No, that's an error on my part. So the traffic impact statement. So this project is gonna generate very little traffic. It's expected that twice per month, the facility will receive chemical deliveries via truck. And this site will only be staffed by a single employee of the Pembroke Water Department. So on average, it'll create 1.09 vehicle trips per working day. Not a very substantial impact at all, traffic-wise. So we request a waiver from this requirement.
Okay.
Okay, section 562, under the construction regulations. This regulation states curbing shall be placed at the edges of all paved surfaces. Curbing shall not be bituminous concrete. So we have no proposed paved surfaces on the site. We're utilizing gravel with a country drainage style drainage design. So we are only proposing curbing in one location, a small stretch along the front edge of the building, at the edge of our landscape buffer. And this is solely to help direct stormwater runoff away from the building foundation. And we are proposing this as a big comp curb. So we're requesting a waiver from the requirements that we cannot use bituminous concrete.
Gotcha.
So, can I ask you, I'm going to be honest, I don't know a lot about pumps and water and moving this stuff and chemicals. So, in a nutshell, basically, this building is going to be pulling water from the pond, lake, being treated, and then where does it go from there?
Groundwater.
Huh?
It's groundwater.
Okay,
So we're proposing 3 deep wells,
Okay.
drinking water wells.
Okay.
That are going to be drilled into the groundwater aquifer.
okay,
These wells are going to have pumps,
yeah,
which are going to pull the water out of the ground.
yeah,
They're going to pump it up to the proposed pump station.
okay,
And this pump station will also function as a chemical feed injection system.
okay,
So it's going to basically, the raw water that's pulled out of the ground is
Yeah.
going to come into this building. It's going to come up through a U-shaped manifold in the floor.
Okay.
And it's going to have an injection manifold that is going to inject chemicals to treat
Right.
the drinking water.
right,
And then this is going to be connected back to the distribution network.
Okay,
The water will be treated
okay,
at this point.
okay. So, I know it says one employee, so one employee would be there like every day from like 9 to 5 type of thing, or 9 to 4, or whatever?
Yeah, just keeping an eye on things.
Okay.
They'll have instrument monitoring systems.
Okay.
Otherwise, they will, keep tabs on the operation of the pump station.
All right. And by chemicals, it's just what is in our normal drinking water now?
Yes, I'm not a process engineer,
I
but it's
gotcha.
going to be, like chlorine.
Right, right.
Here,
Potassium hydroxide, chlorine, and sodium chloride.
Okay. Okay, good. I just wasn't clear on how it all worked. Okay. That's all I got.
okay. So next waiver was for access connections. According to section 5.7, the speed limit on the street, on Pleasant Street, within the vicinity of the project site, is 35 miles per hour. And there's a table in the regulations that based upon the speed limit, you have to have a certain distance between access connections on the road. Because this project is situated at the intersection of Oak and Pleasant, and the only other alternative is, which only from an access perspective, not from a well site, perspective. Just want to state that, this is the only feed, a lot of study went into, determining where these wells could be drilled. Years, it takes years to figure that out. So there's no other feasible location to move the site. But the only other alternative from a site access perspective is under similar conditions. I believe it's at the intersection of maybe Spring Street and Pleasant Street. So we would, be dealing with this regardless. So we request, relief from that requirement. Also, section 5.7.2, the width of the access connection at property line shall not exceed 25 feet. Now, I believe it's a little ambiguous whether this is actually an access connection in the first place, since it's just a driveway to access, development. It's not for subdivision or any large commercial development. But with that being said, our driveway is 26 feet wide. So we are obviously larger than the 25-foot maximum requirement. But that is due for, site access to allow the vehicles, the chemical delivery vehicles that need to access the site, to allow them to safely get in and out of the site.
And you're not paving it?
Excuse
And
me?
you're not paving it?
No. So, again, we request relief from that requirement. And I believe, one more. All right, okay, section 5.76, we are required by the site plan review regulations to provide a leveling area for a distance of 30 feet from the street line at minus 1% maximum. We are exceeding that. We have a 3% slope over the first 25 feet. But as I stated earlier, when we designed this site, we designed it to utilize the existing topographical features. We try to make it as harmonious with the existing site as possible. One large driving reason for that in this area is because there's an existing depression near the frontage of the site that already it receives stormwater runoff under existing conditions from adjacent properties to the east. So we didn't want to, we want to interrupt that as little as possible. And we didn't want to raise the driveway up above a certain elevation and create a situation where we could potentially be impounding a lot of stormwater on that side of the property. So we request relief from that requirement.
Okay, great. All right, any other questions for the applicant?
Answered all mine.
Great. Deb, do you have anything to add? Could you come up and just give us a quick review of where we are with the project and the site plan? As far as peer review and what's been actually done?
Yep. Deb Keller, Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors. As stated, we reviewed the original filing, had some comments that we just pretty much went over. I think, we had a few other ones that were more housekeeping with the O&M plan. One of the comments that they addressed, but I thought I'd just make a note of it so that we all know that infiltration basins, we don't want to have snow removal or stored there. So we have that added to their O&M plan, that that's not allowed. I believe they've added it, a note to the plan as well, so that's great. Just to make sure that those basins will continue to work and treat surface runoff around the site. As stated, there is a fair amount of grading on the site. I think they've addressed all of the concerns with access to the basins, making sure the maintenance is, can be done as required through the O&M plan. And I think really the only other big item was, since the driveway is gravel and they are designating parking spaces here, and they do have an ADA accessible one, we asked to add one signage so that that's sort of, because obviously you can't strike gravel. You could try, but you'd be painting it every week to keep it updated there. So in general, these revised plans dated September 5th, which I believe are the current plan sets. I apologize, I probably missed those two standards. Trying to get that letter in before the meeting. But they have addressed all the comments that I did have accordingly. If there's any questions for me?
Gravel driveway at an intersection. So I'm curious, is there any mitigation for gravel being carried out onto the road? Are you going to be using 1-inch gravel, for example, and is there going to be some mitigation at the road point? Because that's an intersection. It's be very dangerous for motorcyclists and biking people.
Okay.
We need you at the
So I
microphone.
believe with the gradings, I believe with the grading of the site, any gravel kicked up would come back into the site instead of being carried out into the roadway.
Do you have the profile might show how the
Basically tell them
driveway's
to-
pitched down?
Yeah, that's the 3% minus 3%.
Yeah, it's kind of difficult to see on here, but that's approximately the center line of the roadway. That's roughly the curb property line, and you can see this comes in at a significant grade into the property.
So there'd be no dragging of gravel, but you can still carry it on tires, though.
There might be a little.
Yeah,
You could put a paved, just a short paved.
that's what I'm
apron.
wondering, if they could do a paved apron prior to the exit at the slope point. Just at the slope point, if that was a hard surface, that would drop gravel.
Yeah, we could propose a bitumen, a
Tires.
big conch apron.
Okay.
So,
Thank-
actually, I have another question. So, the fence that is going to be blocking this off, where it abuts Pleasant Street, is that this dotted line that goes through?
Can you turn that to the side?
The fence is going to be located right there. There's a gate system right here, and the fence carries across, comes up along the top of the wall,
All right.
and around the back, and comes up the property right here.
I believe there's a guardrail installed on the side of the driveway as you come in.
Okay.
Yeah, there's guardrails, wooden guardrails on each side, so that may be what you're looking at.
Yeah, I was just concerned that, somebody was going to be stopping and trying to, unlock fences or, something like that, but,
No, there'll be a security gate system, and there's plenty of room for a vehicle to We provided enough room for people to pull completely off the roadway
Yep.
before that gate can be opened.
All right. Is everyone good? All right, we'll open it up to public comment. If you'd like to come up, please state your name, your address.
Hi, I'm Richard Kiona, 253 Wilbur Avenue, Swansea, Massachusetts. I'm an attorney here with the Beddingtons, Mr. and Mrs. Beddington. I have a couple of questions.
And as per this plan, where do the Beddingtons live?
They're at 167. They're the ones to the right, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are, other than this gentleman here, I think they're the most, locally impacted, if you will.
Gotcha.
Excuse me. So, one of the concerns they have is with respect to tree removal, what trees they're talking about, because their property line has a retaining wall that they had installed, how many years ago? 15 years ago, a very robust structure that keeps the side of their property from caving into this chasm, really. It's a very steep slope. So one of their concerns is that they don't want to have slippage, if you will, of their property into this construction area. And there are a number of very large sized trees, I would say caliber wise, 2.5, 3 foot oaks that are right into the side of a rather steep, of the steep incline that frankly, from my estimation, should not be removed. They may not even be on the docket to be removed, but it's, and I spoke to this gentleman over here, I'm sorry, your name is?
Dan Sullivan,
Yeah, Dan Sullivan. And you, I'm sorry, are?
the water superintendent.
Right. And Dan indicated to me after the last meeting on Thursday that he would be happy to flag the trees that they're talking about. So I know that that's one of the things we're going to want to follow up on. So that's the number one there. Question I have too is with respect to the wall that is being proposed. Is that also along the same, the eastern, I guess it's the eastern side? Okay. And so you've been to the site, obviously, you're familiar with the site?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with obviously the existing stone abutment structure that's there?
Towards the front of the property?
Yes, toward the front of the
Yes.
property.
Okay, is there a question?
Okay, now I'll move on. The arborvitaes, where are they going to go? Okay. Okay. Because I know another one of their concerns was light pollution, and I understand that these are going to be relatively minor lights on the building, with their aperture pointing downward. But I know that, they've had this property, they've been living in this house for many, many years, and they don't want to have all of a sudden a situation where there's all of a sudden
Sure.
light pollution that they didn't
Well, we
bargain for.
require the downward facing
Yeah,
lights.
yeah. Okay. We talked about dust mitigation in the last hearing, with respect to during the construction period, that there would be some on-site dust mitigation while the.
If I remember correctly, that was included in the application for
Okay.
the notice of intent.
Very good, thank you. Okay. So, yeah, again, the concern I have is that of one for erosion, and I suppose I'll be able to address that with the,
So, those are good questions, and of course, screening is always important to abutters, so we appreciate the question. So could you give us just an overview of the screening that's being proposed for both sides, actually, since we've got you here? And there is a tree cutting plan, right? Clearing
Yes,
plan.
that's what we're looking at right here.
Right, and the trees in red are to be removed.
Yes.
But there's not a very good representation of trees that remain.
They're very difficult to see on this plan.
Yeah.
So, the approximate location of the retaining wall that he was speaking of, the existing retaining wall owned by the abutters on 167 Pleasant Street is located in this vicinity, right here. She crosses slightly over the property line down here and runs almost at an angle. So, with the stormwater basin at this location being redesigned and pulled away from the wall now, it is approximately, the closest grading that we'll be conducting over here is approximately 25 to 30 feet from this retaining wall.
So that's actually moved further away.
It's pulled further away from the wall.
Than it was originally intended?
Yes.
Okay. Are there
So
any trees
there
there?
are two trees, mature trees right here, that will now be saved
Okay.
as a result of this. I can't recall off the top of my head what species they are, maybe black cherries,
It says red maple.
red maple, okay.
I don't see any oak.
So in the other location where we pulled the retaining wall away from the property line is, well, the proposed retaining wall, I'll say. Proposed retaining wall that runs in this general area. We are now going to be able to preserve 3 more trees here than we previously were. We did lose an additional one, but as I said, there's a net of, a net reduction of 4 trees that we're proposing to cut down. This is also the location we're proposing arborvitae plantings. You're here on the top of the wall. So, we are trying to create as much separation from this property line as possible and, to preserve as much of screening. And we're going to supplement, where needed to maintain that visual, buffer. Could I make a few comments about some of his other points that he brought up?
Sure, yeah, please do.
Okay, so with regard to the lighting, so, as we've already spoken about, we're gonna have 2 wall-mounted lights, pointed, shielded and pointed down to the ground. But I'd also like to add that the elevation of these lights, they're gonna be approximately, at least a minimum of 6 feet below the top of the slope at the property line for 167 Pleasant Street. So, in addition to them,
So they're gonna be
creating
below-
minimal light pollution, they're also going to be at an elevation that they're far below where they would be able to see any light
Gotcha,
from their home.
okay.
Will be shielded by the retaining wall and the existing slope. And additionally, the only earthwork cuts that we're proposing along that slope adjacent to 167 Pleasant Street is now in front of the retaining wall. We're not proposing any cuts into the hillside from the building forward. We're going to blend our grade, the proposed grading, into the existing grading at the base of the hillsides. So, we're not doing any cutting, so there shouldn't be any sort of destabilization of the slope, and we're not removing any trees on that slope.
Okay, great. Any other public comment? Good. Okay.
Phil Maselli, 10 Oak Street, kind of diagonal across. I have experience with these types of pumps. I'm chief engineer in a large building right now, and I used to be chief engineer on ships. Just wondering what kind of noise the pumps are, and how big are they, vibration.
Well, I can't speak to the size or decibel rating, but I can just tell you that, yes, these pumps are most likely going to be pretty loud, but these buildings are designed, they're soundproofed, and that's taken into account in the design of the building. So, a structure like this, isn't going to cause any issues with noise pollution.
And one other question, the chemicals, you have a venting system.
Dan,
Was it
you care to chime in? I believe there's going to be a containment system inside the building. They'll fill them up via valves inside the building. I mean, I know it's highly regulated by DEP. There has to be spill containment systems and, hazardous material safety plans in place. But as far as venting, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so the bulk storage tanks will have a vent on them. It's minimal. That's gonna come off the top.
I mean, if the issue or the concern is like odors, there's not going to be, there shouldn't be any odors emanating from the site. Oh, sorry.
I have one more question.
You address the board, please.
One more question.
Sure.
So when the water re-enters like the distribution, how does that affect, like, I guess the main line? Is there any impact to like the main?
So part of their design, we have to have a minimum contact time for disinfection, so everything meets public water standards before it enters. They're actually putting a loop on the property that goes up the driveway and loops back, so that way it has adequate contact time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to close the public comment section of this. What's the pleasure of the board?
Can we talk to Deb a little bit more?
Sure, if you'd like to.
Yeah, so, I feel comfortable closing the public comment thing, but I'd kind of like to see your responses, their responses, which I guess is in an email somewhere that we can't get at right now. I didn't know if there was anything that,
We did get the response, we got your responses, or no, we got theirs, we didn't get yours, that's
Right,
correct.
right. So I
Right.
went through their latest plan set and their response letter, and I went each item by item, and
Okay.
they have addressed my comments.
okay. So was there anything outstanding that,
No, I would just say if you're ready to approve, the one comment that we kind of always have on
Yeah.
site plans is, the plans do need to be recorded, so recording, the recording block, registry block will need to be put on the plans unless you want to waive that for these, town plan set.
No, they'll be recorded.
Yep.
We do have 14 days to issue the conditions, and we don't have the conditions before us now.
okay.
But we can vote, well, we have to close the public hearing to vote the waivers and vote the conditions. So we can't continue, when's the next meeting? Is that the 23rd? Sorry, Sabrina.
Not a problem.
Sabrina's filling in for us tonight,
And doing such a good job.
and I'm putting her on the spot.
Sue said something, I thought it was October,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't, she knows.
Well,
The 17th.
October 7th.
October 7th, okay. Because we do have a timeline in issuing the conditions. So we can't continue until October 7th, and then at that meeting, it'd be simple as opening the public hearing, approving the waivers, closing the public hearing, approving the waivers, and then approving the site plan.
All right.
Dan, is that,
Yeah, that works for me.
and Dan Sullivan?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay, all right, so I'll entertain that motion.
I'll make a motion that we continue the public hearing until October 7th. I guess we're not doing time taking.
Just say 7 PM.
7 p.m.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great, thank you so much for the presentations. Thanks for the input from the public, we appreciate that. And time to go on to our next order of business. All right, second up on the agenda tonight is an informal meeting with William Chenard and Casel Associates, Inc., and Vertex on the Public Safety Headquarters and Fire Substation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I am Bill Chenard, the Pembroke Town Manager. I am simply going to introduce our team this evening and turn it over to the professionals for your informal presentation. So with us this evening, our Deputy Chief Jim Shea, just wave when I call your name. Fire Chief Jason Viviero, Police Chief Rick McDonald, from our Owners Project Manager team, the Vertex Companies, Allison Mahar. Allison's actually a Pembroke resident, and Christy Murphy, and Christy lives just a few miles down the street. And then finally, from our Castle Blues Associates, our architect, Sean Smeagol. So I'm going to let Sean come up, give you a presentation of everything, and then if you have questions for me, I'm here throughout, so.
Good evening. Again, I'm Sean Schmiegel. I'm Associate Principal at Castle Blues Associates, the architect here for the new public safety facility and fire substation. So I will go through just kind of the high level at this point. It's just informal, just informational only. I know they were presented to you last week, so I'll go through them pretty quickly. So this is the Washington Street site where the headquarters, public safety combined, police and fire headquarters will be. Right now, we have a main entrance for public entrance along Washington here. Yes, sorry, Mr. Noon. Public entrance along here with public parking along this whole vicinity. And then this is the relocated Turner House. This is a private entrance and exit, or emergency vehicle only emergency entrance and exit for police and fire. This is a drive-through apparatus bay for the fire department and an emergency exit only for the fire apparatus exiting out onto Washington. And then this whole section back along here would be secured parking for the police and fire. And then there's a proposed accessory building, storage facility building at the rear of the property. This dashed line along here is the existing wetlands flaggings. And then, as I know you're just discussing on the previous project this evening, we do have some retaining walls pretty much from this area along here all the way at the back of the property line up to the corner of the property in that vicinity. We have had some recent data collected for percolation testing, so it's a little hard to see, but you have two blue rectangles along here. So we've done upwards of 30 test pits, borings to find this location, and this is the location that is acceptable by the town. So we are going to be they're proposed to be below the main entrance, so we'll be driving over them, from exiting over them and driving in over them at the main entrance along here in Washington. Working with our traffic engineers, VHB, for some traffic signaling along here for emergency exit, is for stopping traffic out front of the main entrance and exit along Washington. So that's currently in production right now. So as we get ready to present or file, well, we'll have all the information and data there. Next slide, just really quick, just the program of the headquarters facility. This red pink area is the firehouse in this section. Middle section is the fire apparatus bay, and then at the main level of the left portion of this building is the police headquarters. Our main police operations is the detention block, dispatch, wellness center, locker rooms, and some administration spaces, break room, and roll call areas. On the second level, there's a public meeting room. Mainly it's a training facility room for the fire and police department, but it's large. It's a 60-person seat, so it is large enough for a public meeting area. And then this is fire administration, like along here, and at the back of the building is a police administration space as well. And then it's a two-story or a story and a half apparatus bay, and then there's a mezzanine that enters into the apparatus bay, which will be for not only for storage but some training facilities, training areas. And then this rectangle here is a training tower. Some 2D elevations, quickly go through it. So this is a view of the main entrance, which is right along here. So keeping in the historic nature of this property, where we are located in Washington, gabled roofs, cementitious siding, hardy plank type siding. In the center portion along here is all brick. And then we do have a datum line or a water table, a water table base, panel base, just to kind of maintain that historic character. So 4 bay apparatus doors. This is the exit of the Sally Port, which we're currently working on increasing that size just a little bit, working with the police department, but again, Sally Port over here. And then this is the firehouse. And then again, the training tower off the center. This is the south elevation, so this is the rear, which is kind of the plan south of what you had seen previously. So the 4 bay apparatus doors, firehouse, and then the administration spaces on the left. This is the east elevation. So again, this is what would be seen along Washington Street, firehouse, apparatus bay beyond, training tower, and administration beyond. And then this would be somewhat of the rear of the west elevation, but Sally Port, administration space, training tower beyond, and so forth. So again, some of the materials, I did touch on a little bit: cementitious siding, PVC trim, corner boards, and paneling, aluminum clad windows, asphalt shingles. So again, just really staying within the historic nature on this property. But equally will be on the other property as well when I get to there. So just some preliminary renderings of where we are at today. So cementitious siding, PVC trim, asphalt shingles, again, brick in the center portion, just that central apparatus bay for the fire department. And then similarly, just the cementitious siding on the administration space and the main entrance. So this is a view from the main, looking towards the main entrance. Again, similar materials, just going through. This is kind of standing almost in the parking lot.
So this is literally behind the gas station, facing the gas station?
That is correct. This is a view looking from the new proposed location of the Turner House. So again, main entrance, Sally Port exit down to the lower levels of the property line, and then Washington Street along here. I'll move on to the School Street or Monroe Street site. So this would be for the fire substation. Obviously a much smaller site. It's a 3-bay apparatus door along the front of School Street, and then 2 bays at the rear. Main entrance is along this elevation on the property. A few public parking spots and a few designated fire department parking spots. Small retaining walls at the rear of the property, just because of the way the grading is. There'll be some dumpster enclosures along here, and then the proposed septic and along the eastern portion of the property. So total parking spots of 10, 1 designated handicap, 4 public, and 5 designated for the fire department. Floor plan, very simple. Again, fire substation with a small command police office for patrols to have a stopping point along their travels. So the main lobby, main entrance along here with all a toilet room or restroom, day room, wellness center, bunks, then the decontamination space for the firefighters, and then the bays for the fire vehicles. Similar materials used here as well, keeping it, granted it's not in the historic district, but keeping it in the same historic nature as most of Pembroke is. Cementitious siding, paneled base, and then the brick at the fire apparatus elevations. This is at the rear of the property. Then the 2 sides. This will be the fire department entrance for the day room, the day room and the bunks along this elevation. So again, just a quick 2 3-dimensional elevations and perspectives. So as you can see, very similar to what the headquarters vernacular was providing, and then a main entrance elevation. So just a quick schedule update of where we're at. So we're in the middle of design development. We're expected to be finalizing our design development drawings for the substation within the next 3 weeks or so. And then we'll be going to just estimating packages. For the headquarters property, we're about 4 weeks out for that. So by the end of October, we'll have budget estimating finalized for the design developments, and that's when we're looking to be filing for site plan review and plan review. So we're on track for what we've been maintaining and discussing through the town. With a few areas of maintaining the budget and getting back on budget, but we're, like I said, within the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll have documents ready for estimating, and then, by the end of October, ready to file. So most likely in November is the hope to be back here. So happy to answer any questions. If Bill has anything to add, or Christy or Allison.
I'll say it. I mean, it's a beautiful building. It's just a shame that it's on that piece of land. I think you guys, with what you're dealing with, I think you've done a beautiful job. I just think it's a shame.
Looks great.
I thought it was beautiful. I'm not sold on James Hardy, I hate your stuff, but that's
I just wish there was a, I don't know, a nicer or smoother way to get traffic in and out of there. Just, I don't know what you could do though.
Yeah, like, you said there's a traffic study forthcoming? Yeah, so, I mean, we've all driven through the center of town, and we've seen how those have never been used, so in close proximity with existing set of lights, that we should see.
So there's definitely going to be, I want to say reconstruction in that area, but there's definitely some additions that are going to help. You know, more of it's for just the emergency vehicles exiting the property. You know, it's not going to be necessarily additional streetlights for the traffic. It's just really just the
There's actually existing lights for the intersection that are gonna be right there.
right.
Right, I know Dan and Michelle Bird kept saying they can control the lights, but if you've ever been there on Friday night, there's already 10 cars in line, so
I
if
don't think
anybody's,
emergency vehicles is the problem. I just think other vehicles, non-emergency vehicles.
they're not gonna get out of the way. I
So
don't know where they're gonna go.
sorry. So I think, well, I know, you know, that's what's happening right now. So we're
Yeah.
currently at the preliminary phases, like the 25% for the Mass DOT packages, design packages. So all the traffic counts have been completed. All of the research and information has been collected at this intersection. And then the proposed locations of the emergency lighting. So this project will help enforce any of the complications, if you will, that are in this intersection.
Are you gonna be tied into the controls of the existing?
Exactly, yeah, so that's part of the project, right? So in order to help clear any of the traffic in this intersection and going east or west along Washington, that's the timing and it's called the Opticom system, or the you know, would be.
And I know I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but, you know, when people are coming through here, they're looking at this because they're supposed to be yielding for the people coming in here. So they're looking this way. And if they see, I can sneak in here and somebody's coming out of here, you know.
Right, so I don't want to speak for Chief Averis, but
Yeah,
the
no,
majority of the calls or the emergency vehicles would be exiting out here. So
Oh, okay,
this
I'm
this
sorry.
this is emergency vehicles as well. Not to say that there would not be any firefighters exiting out this
Okay.
exit, but this is more of a secondary. So we always need to provide a secondary means of egress anyways on the property in case this intersection or there was an accident out here. So
But that also leads to the Sally Port.
this leads to the Sallyport, exactly.
Yeah, through that entrance on Barker Street.
Correct.
Oh, so that's an entrance, not.
Entrance and an exit.
Yes.
Oh, it is,
Yeah,
okay.
for emergency vehicles only. Exactly.
Or police vehicles using the Sally Port.
Okay.
As well as, you know, shift change and turnover for the,
Yep.
Yeah.
both departments, you know, so they come in, secured gate back here, and then all secured parking within this.
So like fire engines and stuff are going towards the gas station? Okay.
Right, it's a double drive-through bay, so right now, vehicles are ability to exit out this way and this way.
Okay.
Again, depending, I think, on how they're going.
Most of the primary vehicles that we use on a daily basis will be going out onto Washington Street.
Facing the gas station?
Right,
Okay.
so it would be, you know, things that we use much
Gotcha.
less
Okay, okay.
frequently going out on the Barker.
Did it change? Or did it change?
From last time you saw, yes, it has changed a little bit.
On the school street station, there's the 3 bays facing School Street and then 2 in the rear. So one, presumably not a whole apparatus, maybe just like the Deb's car or something's gonna have to bang a U-turn in the 40-foot entryway there and back in.
Well,
It's like that bay to the right on the front facing the school is not gonna be a pull-through, right?
right, exactly. That would be a back-end bay, or an auxiliary bay, or some overflow bay. You know, there's some trailers that would be stored here, you know, so depending on the usage of this area.
It'll probably be a forest fire truck
Right.
parked there, like a pickup style truck.
Smaller, less used.
Yeah, it'll probably be an ambulance engine, forest fire.
Are you running ambulances out of both of these stations?
Yes.
It's good for us.
And then one more, just since I got the architect here, on the south elevation of the main headquarters station, why is that third bay
Yeah.
lower header than the other three.
That's not correct. So, again, we're in design development, it's being cleaned up, refreshed, so, that's not intended. So these are overhead garage doors, 14 feet in height, 13.4 wide, for future growth of any vehicles that would be in the next 50 to 60 years of height and growth. But yeah, that's a good eye.
Someone didn't drag and drop it. Right? On the grid.
Anything else? Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate the update. All right, so next up is a public hearing for a sign permit in the Center Protection District, Joshua W. Williams Select Pro at 58 Mattakesett Street.
How you doing?
Hi.
Josh Williams, Select Pro Contracting, 58 Mattakesett Street.
So you're the last address in the Center Protection District there.
I am. I just happened to be, so I submitted for a permit, and the only thing they asked was because I'm in a Grove Street where I'm asking to have the sign, even though I have 10 and 15 feet setback, they wanted to bump it back an additional 5 feet for the people who coming out of Grove Street, just for the site purpose, really. I have a local, just a contracting business, and it's really to generate more leads and serve my community. Just doing roof and siding, fully licensed, insured, and I'm proposing really how this whole thing became about is I had one of these yard signs here in my property. The town contacted me and asked me, that's illegal. They said pull a permit, so I went, I pulled a permit, and then they denied the permit because they said I'm in a town district or village district, and said I have to go in front of a hearing. Here I am in front of a hearing, asking for a 3x5 sign, just like this. I own a box truck that's 14 feet that I can legitimately park in the same location. It looks exactly like this, but I think a sign would look a little better and cleaner. And that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, here's my. This was just like a.
This was just, yeah. just like
wire.
this. Yes.
Okay.
So next door to me, really what initiated this whole thing, next door, I have a picket fence, I have 4 young children.
Yep.
I'm on a commercial street, it's a busy street. Next door, there's multiple businesses, a skincare, there's a tax firm, there's 6 businesses.
Yeah.
Apparently, people have a hard time pulling out seeing the fence, or seeing the street because due to the fence. So the building inspector went back out and looked at it. I'm not breaking,
Yeah.
There was an existing fence there, it was a post and rail, so I
Yeah.
replaced it with a picket fence. I don't need a permit for that because it's under
Yeah.
6 feet. So then, he seen this yard sign, and he said, my second issue is your yard sign. So, he said, pull a permit. So the only thing they asked is to go in front of the hearing, and the only thing he said, if I do resubmit the site plan, which I had a location on a site plan, which is closer to Grove Street, corner of Grove and Mattakesett, is he wants it bumped back an additional 5 feet just for vision for anyone coming out of Grove Street.
Okay, so what's the sign going to be made out of?
It's gonna be aluminum sign. It's gonna be similar to this, blue. I did submit,
Like this?
just like that.
Yeah.
That's the rendering right there. A 3x5.
Beautiful.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
So I have a question about that center protection sign thing.
So this is going to be mounted on two wooden,
Yeah, 2 4x4s.
Okay, gotcha.
Mounted on, it's an aluminum sign. Fast Signs made the sign. They made the rendering.
Gotcha.
Local company in Hanover. I mean,
This is what you want?
I
This is
wanted
what-
a little cleaner personally, but I
Yeah.
needed to submit something.
Okay.
I'm gonna have both of the posts painted, and the goal is to have it a lot cleaner than that personally.
Yeah.
But I just needed to submit something, so I took a picture, and,
Yeah, no, I guess my feeling is, I think, looking at the Center Protection District, I know that it was designed more for the center. You know, and they were like, oh, you have to use this color or that color, which that probably could be on there somehow. But I would make a motion to approve it.
Okay. So we have a motion to approve the,
Second.
the sign, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. Good to go.
thank you very
Make
much.
sure you,
So I am gonna submit 5 feet,
Yep.
and,
Yep.
it's wonderful. Thank you very much.
All right.
thank you, and thanks for coming in.
Yes, thank you. So do I need anything else from, besides just resubmitting to the building department?
Yeah, just work with the building department now.
Okay.
You've gone through this process, you're good to go.
Great, thank you very much.
All right.
We won't harass you.
All right, so the next agenda item is the possible vote whether to return amount of $5,632.76, an engineering review account for SP 2-23 self-storage facility on Old Church Street project to original applicant. I don't believe we've done the as-built review.
I think so.
Or have the as-built been,
Don't think so.
yeah.
I don't think so.
So until we do that, and I know it's
Yeah.
on Sue's list, so we just need to make note that she needs to ask for those to be peer reviewed by Merrill before we can release the money. But we're happy to release the money once we do the review of the as-built. Fair enough? All right, so I don't think Don McGill's here, but there's a discussion and vote on allowing partial temporary occupancy permits for SP 4-23, 74 and 0 Congress Street. Applicant would like to close on the first 4 units, 1 through 4, within the next 2 weeks.
I've driven by there several times and I can't see anything that they haven't done.
Yeah, it's looking really good.
I think, I don't know if we got an as-built for that either though.
No, but he's asking for temporary occupancy permits for those, not a
He's just
final.
He's just looking for 4?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, that should be
Would
fine.
building weigh in on what's still happening on the site?
Yeah.
Because
and
that's
they're-
TCO through them.
Yes, and he'll have to go through them for the temporary permits as well, occupancy permits.
Getting our
Yeah.
2 cents.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so again, if we say yes, but there's still something that needs to be provided by buildings.
We still have the final occupancy permit under our purview pending, complete review of the as-built.
Okay.
Where we have 11 units there?
9.
9?
The whole
So it's
place is
less than
completely
half.
landscaped and it's all growing good and
Really? That was
Yeah.
fast.
So someone make a motion.
I'll move that we allow the temporary occupancy permits for 4 units.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of, are we going in order?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
great.
Second.
Monday, August 5th,
I
here you
think
go.
you're supposed to say the date.
I
Yeah,
can't
it
get the
helps to say
date,
the
Monday,
Monday,
August 5th.
August
Yeah,
5th.
there
you go.
All right, so we've got a motion that's been made to accept the minutes of Monday, August 5th, 2024 as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent.
Motion to
Anything
adjourn.
else? Now that we've got Sabrina here, anything else you got on the list? Great, so,
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a,
no.
No, we don't do that.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.